Hey everyone, Steve Grogan here, founder of geekwingchun. Today's video is a book review of Descendants of the Dragon by Paul Bax. Usually we have training tips and drills and etc. to help you improve your home-based Wing Chun training game. So if you'd like to see that, hit subscribe and the bell icon so you'll be notified when it's out. But every now and then I review books and instructional videos because I hope they'll give you other ideas on how to train at home. And unfortunately this week, this is not one of those books. But let me explain why by getting into the content. It goes over the second wave of JKD students and etc., including offshoots like Jesse Glover's non-classic. I'm gonna have a brownout here. Hope not. Jesse Glover's non-classical Kung Fu, and something by a guy named Joe Cowles called Wu Wei Kung Fu, which I've never heard of before. Although I believe Wu Wei is a I think that is the Taoist concept of no action or inaction, or action through inaction, something like that. So of course that, I believe, calls for further research, which could yield a further video. Talks about Rocco Ambrose Wing Chun Do Academy, who I have talked to a few times. He's a pretty decent guy. He says Wing Chun uses mechanics that are contrary. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. This is what an interview with Rocco Ambrose. He wasn't just talking about this. This is the interview. Rocco said Wing Chun uses mechanics that are contrary to the body's natural strengths, but then he doesn't explain how. And I believe that is yet another future video idea. I could contact him for an interview and ask him. Talks about a guy, and basically the rest of the book is like, each chapter is like, say, a discussion or an interview, whatever you want to call it, with these people. There's a guy, Frank Brzezinski. He trained under Larry Hartzell, never heard of him. Jerry Beasley, I knew him. And at this point in the book, I wrote down an observation which, that Bax's questions read standoffish, and they actually seem to irritate some of the interviewees. Interesting thing is, he says sparring is fighting, which I thought was interesting. Everyone always says sparring isn't. Then he revealed, I guess, that Pakla Inosano called him a fraud, which I was like, wow, that's either really cool or really dumb to include that in your own book. Then I had a question on the way he phrased a certain part of what he wrote here. I said, I don't understand. If Paul Bax is the interviewer, why does he talk to the interviewee and say, did you read the Paul Bax article? Why wouldn't he say, did you read my article? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. So we go on here. We got Tam Bleacher, Richie Carrion, Tommy Carruthers, David Cheng. He wrote JKD Basics, which I reviewed on here a while back, and had a lot of good inspirational ideas in it, to me anyway. He mentions Matt Thornton and functional JKD. Says something about Bill Holland and JKD fight challenges. That's, again, more research needed there. Lamar Davis, I've heard of him. There were parts in here about a gentleman named Gary Dill and another one named Carter Hargrave, and like the way they read and the way he was talking about them and stuff, it made me uncomfortable just reading it. Oh boy, he talks about Joe Louis and fast twitch explosiveness. Said it before, I'll say it again. Fast twitch motor units, fast twitch muscle fibers, I should say, don't correspond. It doesn't correspond to the fact that those motor units make you move fast. That fast and slow twitch has to do with how slowly or quickly those muscle fibers fatigue. That's all I'm saying. This guy Ron Ogie, he made an interesting statement about Chiso. He said it wasn't discarded because it was useless. He says when you make it part of your neuromuscular system, you no longer have to do it. And I'm not sure I agree, but it was neat to hear this instead of the usual Bruce abandoned it because everything about Wing Chun sucks. Burton Richardson, who I'd heard of back in the 90s, he had an ongoing column in Inside Kung Fu magazine. He says the original JKD guys are right about honing the basics, but they're behind the times and they need to adapt. Some things like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu weren't common when Bruce was alive. And he also believes in letting people spar at a level comfortable for them. He calls it progressive resistance or variable intensity. And he was talking about how Larry Hartzell, when he did Poxow, it was with full force, and he actually moved. Burton Richardson says he actually moved my body, and whatever the range was, he put the opponent on the defensive and kept him there. And then there was a quote that made me chuckle because to me, it was tailor-made for one of the local JKD teachers in this area. In fact, it could describe the way this guy approaches things. And I won't name names exactly, but if he were to somehow see this, he'd know I meant him. And in this case, you're not so vain because this quote is about you. He said, there are two ways to elevate yourself. The first is to spread rumors in an attempt to tear down the reputation of your rivals. I give that to you, sir, if you're watching. You're probably not, but that's okay, doesn't matter. And Burton Richardson calls what he does JKD Unlimited, and he seems to be a pretty cool level-headed guy, so I'm going to tell you that you can contact him at info@jkdunlimited.com. Anyway, obviously for training purposes, this book has pretty much, it's just interviews with second gen JKD people, so it's not really worth getting for that. It's not even really worth getting for the interviews, honestly. Except for the Burton Richardson interview, but I bet you if you tried really hard, you could find that online somewhere for free. So I suggest you do that, because I just don't think this book is worth the time or money. So I'm not even... I'll provide a link for it, but it won't be an affiliate link. Okay, so there you have it. Wow, this turned out to be longer than I thought, but that's okay. As long as if you watched, I sufficiently warned you away from this book, hopefully. If not, well, it's your money, not mine. So thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully this one will be a review of a better book.